ਸਤਿ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਵਾਗਤ ਹੈ ਸਾਡੇ YouTube ਚੈਨਲ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਸਕਸੈਸ ਮੰਤਰਾ। So in today's current affairs, or the discussion of today's current affairs, we are going to discuss about fundamental duties. Recently, a petition was filed in the Supreme Court with respect to the enforcement of fundamental duties. So in today's lecture, we are going to discuss about the nature and the basic understanding of fundamental duties. But before moving ahead, there is a special announcement for all you aspirants from our side that finally the wait is over. For PCS and UPSC, we are going offline as well. Yes, there will be online classes as well as there will be offline batches available for the UPSC aspirants as well as the PCS aspirants. कि भावें तुसी UPSC ਦੀ ਤਿਆਰੀ ਕਰਨੀ ਹੈ ਜਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਸਿਵਲ ਸਰਵਿਸਿਜ਼ ਦੀ ਤਿਆਰੀ ਕਰਨੀ ਹੈ, ਅਸੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਆਨਲਾਈਨ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਨਾਲ ਆਫਲਾਈਨ ਬੈਚਸ। ਆਫਲਾਈਨ ਕਲਾਸਿਸ ਹੋਣਗੀਆਂ, ਲਾਈਵ ਆਨਲਾਈਨ ਕਲਾਸਿਸ ਹੋਣਗੀਆਂ ਅਤੇ we will also provide you with the recorded online lectures. So the wait is finally over. So moving ahead with the understanding of fundamental duties. So what ideally was the petition that was filed in the Supreme Court with respect to the fundamental duties? Petition see that the enforcement of fundamental rights is obviously there. That there is enforcement of fundamental rights by our Indian Constitution under Part 3, but as Part 4A of the Indian Constitution mentions about fundamental duties, so the petition was filed that why fundamental duties are also not enforceable, that they should be made enforceable. Now regarding this, the Supreme Court has sent the notice to the states and the center with respect to the fundamental duties. Now what does the petition say? This petition talks about the idea that if the citizens have to uphold the duty of the ideals of the country and to contribute to growth, and not carrying the fundamental duties of the citizens has a direct bearing on the fundamental rights guaranteed under 14, 19 and 21. Now this basically says, the first idea behind the petition says, or the first rationale कि पहली चीज की है petition दे पिछे, the पहला objective, पहला rationale की है petition दे पिछे, that basically says कि जे असी as a citizen we are not basically implementing our fundamental duties, ਉਹਦੀ ਡਾਇਰੈਕਟ ਇੰਪਲੀਕੇਸ਼ਨ, ਉਹਦੀ ਡਾਇਰੈਕਟ ਇੰਪੈਕਟ ਹੈ ਕਿਹਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ? ਇੰਪੈਕਟ ਔਨ ਆਰਟੀਕਲ 14, ਆਰਟੀਕਲ 19 ਐਂਡ ਆਰਟੀਕਲ 21. ਆਰਟੀਕਲ 14 ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਹੈ, ਔਰ ਆਰਟੀਕਲ 14 basically talks about equality before law and equal protection of law. Article 19 talks about 6 fundamental liberties and article 21, which is very very important, talks about right to life. ਉਹਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਯਾਰ ਜੇ ਅਸੀਂ as a citizen, if we are not basically impacting or not basically talking about the betterment of our citizens or betterment of our society, then it shall have a direct bearing on article 14, 19 and 21. The second understanding is basically that the fundamental duties are intended to serve as a constant reminder to every citizen. But as fundamental duties are a very important or inherent part of the Indian way of life, as a very important part of Indian way of life, similarly, if these fundamental duties are implemented, then they will also enhance our fundamental rights. They will also enhance our fundamental rights. That it also requires to observe certain basic norms of democratic conduct and democratic behavior, because one very important idea is mentioned here, that rights and duties are correlative. कि why as a citizen we should just ask for our rights, why as a citizen we should just ask for our rights, but we should also have our duties, or we should also have the implication that we should also be fulfilling our duties. कि ਅਸੀਂ ठीक है ना कि ਅਸੀਂ ਕਿਉਂ ਹਮੇਸ਼ਾ ਕਹੀਏ ਕਿ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਕੀ ਦੇ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ? ਅਸੀਂ as a citizen ਸਰਕਾਰ ਨੂੰ ਵਾਪਸ ਕੀ ਦੇ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ? ਅਸੀਂ as a citizen what we are giving back to our society, that is also very important. That is also very important. So we have to understand, we have to ensure कि ਜਿਹੜੇ rights हैं, if we are asking from the government about our rights, then we as a citizen also should have a responsibility with respect to our duties, because rights and duties are correlative. महात्मा गांधी ने क्या सीखा about that? Before asking for your rights, think about the fulfillment of your duties. The third bearing or the third understanding has been that where the petition says that the fundamental duties have been violated brazenly or openly by even the people who are in power, which in turn has resulted in the violation of fundamental rights of the citizens. कह रहे कि जो पावर से लोग बैठे हैं, the people who are in the position of power, they have blatantly violated the fundamental duties, which has impacted the rights of the citizens, right? Now, what basically is the nature of fundamental duties? Now, fundamental duties as a concept was not mentioned in the original constitution. Fundamental duties was added by 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act 1976 into the Indian Constitution on the recommendations of Sardar Swaran Singh Committee. सरदार स्वरण सिंह कमेटी की रिकमेंडेशंस, उनकी रिकमेंडेशंस के ऊपर या उनकी रिकमेंडेशंस के उत्ते 42nd Constitution Amendment Act 1976 called for the introduction or called for the addition of fundamental duties into the Indian Constitution. Now, the entire purpose of these fundamental duties was to explain or tell about the Indian way of life to the people. कि जो Indian way of life है, that Indian way of life, that is very important, क्योंकि हमारे देश में पहले भी हम धर्म की बात करते थे, हम ड्यूटीज की बात करते थे, तो उस इंडियन वे ऑफ लाइफ को लोगों तक लाने का संवैधानिक तरीका बना क्या? फंडामेंटल ड्यूटीज। संवैधानिक तरीका बना क्या? फंडामेंटल ड्यूटीज। नाउ दिस फंडामेंटल ड्यूटीज आर नॉन एनफोर्सिएबल, right? That as per written in the constitution, they are non-enforceable. That means they cannot be enforced by the court of law until and unless a law is made to make them enforceable. That means they can be made enforceable by law. For example, the laws have been made for the implementation of the fundamental duties with respect to protection of dignity of women, with respect to protection of nature, protection of wildlife. तो इनके लिए हमने फंडामेंटल ड्यूटीज को इंप्लीमेंट करने का तरीका भी बनाया हुआ है बाय लॉ। फॉर एग्जांपल, योर राइट्स और द ड्यूटी ऑफ द पेरेंट्स और द गार्डियंस विद रिस्पेक्ट टू राइट टू एजुकेशन। तो इसके लिए हमने ड्यूटीज भी बना रखे हैं, लॉज भी बना रखे हैं, विच कैन बी एनफोर्स्ड बाय लॉ, राइट? नाउ देयर आर these fundamental duties which are mentioned in the constitution. Originally there were 10, but now there are 11. So the first fundamental duty is to abide by the constitution and respect the ideals, institutions such as national flag and national anthem. We have to respect these national institutions, national flag, national anthem. इसके लिए हमने नेशनल ऑनर्स एक्ट भी बनाया हुआ है कि अगर हम बाय चांस एनी इंडिविजुअल disrespects the national flag or national anthem, there is obviously national honors act. To cherish and follow the noble ideals which are inspired or which inspired our national freedom struggle, right? For example, non-violence, for example, ahimsa, for example, truth, right? For example, the love for the country, for example, democracy. So to inspire all these things, to uphold and protect sovereignty, unity and integrity of the country, that the territorial integrity of the country is supreme. We have to protect the territorial integrity of the country or the sovereignty of the country at any cost, right? To defend the country and render national service when called upon to do so, राइट? कि हमारी हर सिटीजन की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है दैट वी हैव टू प्रोटेक्ट आवर कंट्री, वी हैव टू रेंडर अ सर्विस फॉर द प्रोटेक्शन ऑफ आवर कंट्री। जैसे कि यूक्रेन में हुआ है दैट एवरी सिटीजन इज आउट ऑन स्ट्रीट्स रेंडरिंग और फॉर द प्रोटेक्शन ऑफ आवर कंट्री। सिमिलर इज द रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी ऑफ एवरी इंडियन सिटीजन इफ by chance, if at any point of time our country needs us. Second is to promote the spirit or harmony of spirit of common brotherhood, जैसे कि हमारे प्रियम्बल में भी कहा गया है फ्रेटर्निटी। तो उन्होंने बोला कि यार यूनिटी की बात करनी है, डिवाइसिवनेस तो बहुत है दुनिया में, यूनिटी की बात करने की बात की जाती है amongst all the people transcending religious, linguistic and regional sectional diversities, कि irrespective of all the diversity, चाहे वो regional diversity हो, linguistic diversity हो, sex based diversity हो, किसी भी diversity को पीछे रखते हुए हमने एक यूनिफाइड एक ब्रदरहुड की एस्टेब्लिशमेंट करनी है। और इसके साथ साथ we have to renounce the practices which are derogatory to the dignity of women, कि किसी भी तरह if dignity of women is getting hurt or the practices which hurt the dignity or the respect of the women, no such practice should be allowed. Next is to preserve value and preserve the rich heritage of our composite culture. India, you know, is a civilizational state. India is a civilizational state. There is so much of rich history, rich culture, be it religious, be it linguistic, be it of any kind, right? The monuments, etc., of all the culture, we have to be proud of it and we have to preserve and value the rich heritage and the composite culture of our country. Now that composite culture or rich heritage includes throughout the territory of India, starting from Jammu and Kashmir, going up to Tamil Nadu, including Lakshadweep and Andaman Nicobar, and starting from the Gujarat to going up to Arunachal Pradesh. तो जितना भी हमारा स्टेट है, जितनी भी हमारी टेरिटरी है, उसमें जो कंपोजिट कल्चर है, उन सबका इज्जत करना, उन सबको प्रोटेक्ट करना, उन सबका वैल्यू करना हमारी एज अ सिटीजन फंडामेंटल ड्यूटी है. अनदर फंडामेंटल ड्यूटी इज टू प्रोटेक्ट एंड इंप्रूव द नेचुरल एनवायरमेंट इंक्लूडिंग फॉरेस्ट, लेक्स, रिवर्स, एक्सेट्रा एक्सेट्रा, जिसकी मैंने बात करी थी, प्रोटेक्शन ऑफ एनवायरमेंट. To help and develop scientific temper, humanism and spirit of inquiry and reform. Right. Now, one very important perspective of secularism is also to develop scientific temper. So we need to have a scientific temper with respect to our rationality with behind every decision to safeguard public property and abjure violence. कि public property जैसे लिख देते हैं ना कि रिच मॉन्यूमेंट्स में जाके, यहाँ सरकारी मॉन्यूमेंट्स पे जाके लिख देते हैं कि कुछ भी लिख दिया ना, दिल बना दिया, उसमें से तीर निकाल दिया, ऐसा ना करें. और साथ ही साथ वायलेंस कभी नहीं होनी चाहिए. कुछ भी अगर किसी को प्रॉब्लम है तो देयर इज ऑलवेज अ डेमोक्रेटिक कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल मेथड ऑफ सेफगार्डिंग इट. To strive towards excellence in all spheres, individual and collective activity, so that we can take a nation at a higher levels collectively. कि हमेशा we should achieve for excellence so that we should take our nation for betterment. And last, this was added with respect, or this was added by 86th Amendment Act 2002. ये जो लास्ट में है, this was added by 86th Constitutional Amendment Act 2002. This basically talks about the responsibilities of the parents to send their children within the age group of 6 to 14 to the schools. राइट की ड्यूटी है. राइट टू एजुकेशन में सरकार की ड्यूटी नहीं है कि सरकार बच्चों को उठा के स्कूल लेके जाए. सरकार की ड्यूटी है एजुकेशन प्रोवाइड करना, बच्चों को स्कूल भेजना पेरेंट्स की जिम्मेवारी है, गार्डियंस की जिम्मेवारी है. वो कहां दी गई है? फंडामेंटल ड्यूटीज Part 4A of the Indian Constitution. Now, with respect to the fundamental duties, the Supreme Court has also stated some things. And what are the viewpoints of the Supreme Court? The Supreme Court in Ranganath Mishra case held that the fundamental duties should not be enforced by legal sanctions but also by social sanctions. In the Ranganath Mishra case, what did the Supreme Court say? Supreme Court said that if these fundamental duties are not enforceable by legal और बाय लीगल बैकिंग, दे शुड बी एनफोर्सेबल बाय सोशल सैंक्शंस. की सोसाइटी के अंदर से आना चाहिए. जैसे रिसेंटली बॉम्बे हाई कोर्ट ने भी एक जजमेंट दी थी, जिसमें बॉम्बे हाई कोर्ट ने बोला कि कोविड के दौरान हमें यह समझना चाहिए कि हमारी फंडामेंटल ड्यूटीज क्या है अपनी सोसाइटी के प्रति. लोग उभर के बाहर आए, लोगों ने मदद करी एक दूसरे की, तभी जाके हमने कोविड में देखा दैट हाउ पीपल हेल्प ईच अदर, देयर इज अ डेवलपमेंट ऑफ एस्टेब्लिशमेंट और देयर इज अ डेवलपमेंट ऑफ पीपल और द कोऑपरेशन अमंगस्ट द पीपल. सो द सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने रंगनाथ मिश्रा केस में क्या कहा? उन्होंने बोला रंगनाथ मिश्रा केस में कि यार लोगों को यह सोचना चाहिए कि सोशल सैंक्शन के थ्रू ही हम डेवलपमेंट कर सकते हैं. दूसरा, एम्स स्टूडेंट यूनिवर्सिटी केस वर्सेस एम्स केस में सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने क्या बोल दिया? दैट फंडामेंटल ड्यूटीज आर इक्वली इंपॉर्टेंट एज फंडामेंटल राइट्स, बिकॉज द कोर्ट सेड दैट द वर्ड फंडामेंटल, द प्रीफिक्स फंडामेंटल इज यूज्ड इन बोथ द केसेस. सो फंडामेंटल ड्यूटीज जो इन पोजीशन ऑफ पावर हैं, द पीपल हु कैन इंप्लीमेंट और हु कैन एनफोर्स देयर फंडामेंटल ड्यूटीज, फॉर देम fundamental duties are equivalent or equally important as their fundamental rights. Now, though the fundamental duties are not enforceable like fundamental rights, but they cannot be overlooked. Right? The Supreme Court ने क्या बोला कि the prefix fundamental is important in every sphere. So, if the prefix fundamental makes a certain right supremely important, similarly, the prefix fundamental should make the impact of fundamental duties extremely important. So this was it with respect to the fundamental duties. So I'll see you next time. Until then, thank you and take care. And for more such videos, kindly share and subscribe.